Thank you everyone for taking the time today to review the Tairox productivity tools. We know everyone is very busy, so we appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little of it with us. The productivity tools will install the same as any of your Sage 300 modules will install. You would run the installer, and under administrative services you activate the module, and then you will see it in the menu with all of your other Sage 300 modules. These toolkits, we've separated them out by module, so you can purchase any one of the module toolkits if there are only a certain number of the tools that you're interested in. You certainly can buy each of the modules separately. The pricing of it, though, if you go beyond two of the toolkits, then price-wise you just would buy the entire productivity tools. And then under the options here, there's just the one option screen, but it gives you the ability to activate which of the tools within each of the toolkits that you would like to be using. And if users just have certain access within Sage 300, you can copy any of the icons for these tools into the respective module folders so that you don't necessarily need to grant any additional access to Sage 300 so that users can use these tools. We already did a session on the general ledger, accounts receivable, and accounts payable tool sets. I'll just do a very, very quick overview of the tools that are contained within those kits in case any of you were not on that presentation. So within the accounts payable, we have what we call an extended vendors. The extended vendors is just the one screen, and it gives you some ease of use when you're looking at your vendors. You can call up by vendor number. You may notice there's a box around the vendor number field label. This, we've added in what we would call Google-like search capability. So a number of the tools you would see a highlight around the field name that gives you that special search capability. We have added features in terms of, you can click on the address field and it will take you up to Google Maps. You could launch an email from the contact field, and you can launch and go out and visit a website just by clicking on the website field label. Probably one of the most important features, though, of the extended vendors is the ability for you to store multiple contacts. If you're familiar with accounts payable vendors, you only have two places where you can store a contact. We're giving you the ability to store multiple contacts. The fact that this is called extended vendors, I'll highlight the extended tools in a bit more detail, so I'll circle back on that. The other tool that we've added within the accounts payable tool set is what we would call vendor inquiry. If you're familiar with the customer inquiry, then you would be familiar with the vendor inquiry tool that we've added, because we've mimicked the customer tool, but effectively you can see there's 20 different tabs here, and it's one screen that's going to contain all the information relating to your vendors. So ease of use in terms of getting information relating to a vendor. The extended remit to locations, again, the extended tool. I will highlight those extended tools in just a minute. And the newest tool that actually probably wasn't part of the original presentation would be the extended AP Create Payment Batch. This is a very specialized tool. It gives you the ability to have more than one open batch. If you're familiar with the batches and the way they are within Sage 300, Sage 300 only allows you to have one open batch at a time. So with this extended create payment batch, we're allowing you to have more than one payment batch that is open or unposted at the same time. Within accounts receivable, we have the extended customer, so very similar to the extended vendor tool. These other extended tools I'll come back to. Then we have a tool that's called Apply Documents. This gives you the ability to match up payments, and I guess I would say payments in quotes. At the top part of the screen there, we can see, credit notes, prepayments. You would see payments, wire transfers, any type of payment, again in quotes. And at the bottom part of the screen, you're seeing open invoices. So you can very easily, through the supply column, just say, yes, I want to apply it against this invoice. And when you hit the process button, it's going to generate a receipt batch for you. So rather than going between multiple screens, you can see that all on one screen. The mass billing tool, if you're billing the same thing to multiple people at the same time, so I always tend to use tuition as an example. You know, a university is going to bill 1,000 students the same tuition. You can set the parameters of the invoice, and then you can bring in a list of customers, and by hitting the process button, you can generate that same invoice against multiple customers at the same time. And then under the general ledger, again, I'll come back to the extended tools, but we have the accounting status tool, and this gives you the ability on one screen to see all of the open batches. So, you know, typically we would think, you know, at a month-end close, perhaps you want to know what batches are still open and what may need to be posted in order for you to generate your month-end. And any of the numbers that have a line under them, you can click on and it will give you the underlying details related to that batch. So the extended tools, as we call them, we have a toolkit that's called multi-company tools. For those of you that are running multiple Sage 300 companies within the same server, the extended tools will give you the ability to maintain information in one source company and copy out to target companies. So each of these extended tools will do that copy for you. If we look at something like the GL accounts, you can call up a specific account or just click the copy accounts button and bring in a range of accounts, and you can select those by account number, structure code, account group, and so on, and load that information into the screen. I probably should have filtered that. Then you have the ability to review what is in this grid, and in the include column specify yes or no whether you want to include those in the copy. So I'm just going to say select none and just choose one. You can do segment substitutions here. So when we're talking about the GL chart of accounts, you can say, you know, it's this division in my source company. I'd like to change that to this value when you copy it into my target company. You can do some segment substitution here. When you hit the copy button, you can choose whether you want to just insert new records, so only new records that have been entered in the source company, or you can say when you go to do the copy, only look for existing records in the target company and just update those, or you can do both. You can insert new records and you can update existing records, and then specify the companies that you want to copy into. So that's the concept for all of these extended tools, that you can maintain the information in your source company and copy to a target company. So you can do that with the GL accounts as I just showed. You can do that with your GL segment codes. You can do that with your GL account groups. When you're creating a new year, you can go through that process once and then copy into your target companies. Same goes for the opening and closing of your fiscal periods. The extended customers and extended vendors I've just alluded to. All of the other features are there, but you can also do this copy with customers and vendors. You can copy your inventory items, and again, there's a segment substitution capability here. So even if you only have one company, you know, you may need to set up the same item in 10 different colors. So you could set that item up once and then just do a segment substitution for the color segment and easily replicate and set up multiple items using the extended inventory items. Same with your inventory locations, your item pricing, your inventory segment codes, and your ship via codes. So all of these extended tools, we've compiled them together into this multi-company toolkit. If all you need to do is be copying from one company to others, we wanted to give you the ability to just purchase that multi-company toolkit. However, you will see in each of the respective modules, those extended tools will be in the respective modules. So when we look at the inventory control toolkit, you'll see the extended inventory items here, the extended location details, and so on. As I mentioned, a lot of these field labels will have a box around them. When you click on that, it's going to give you Google-like search capability. So if I just put in a few characters and I click the Find button, it's going to return all of the results that contain, in this case, BLA for me. Important to note that we're not just searching against one field. We'll search against the item description. We'll also search against the comment fields. So you can see this first line, it's actually brought back the result based on comment 4 that says black only. Black only is sitting here in comment 2 for the stapler. So you get the idea that we're searching against multiple parameters within, in this case, the items. So you don't have to search just based on, say, the item description as an example. So you should be able to get better results in using this Google-like Finder. You can also copy the items, as I mentioned. So similar to the screen that we just looked at, but you can put in a range of items, for example. So let's just do that so that we can limit the results that come back. So we'll choose an item here, and once you've selected the range of items, you can again load those into the bottom grid so you can review. And as I mentioned, you can do a segment substitution here. So in the case of the inventory items, you can substitute the category, the style, the color, as I mentioned, the model, the series, or the account set. You can also set additional criteria that will help you in finding the information that you want to copy over. So that is the extended inventory items. You can copy your inventory locations, your vendor details, the customer details, the manufacturer's items, the item pricing, the segment codes. So you may be familiar with the stock reorder tool in Sage 300. So with this stock reorder tool, we've added some features. So it's a similar concept in terms of determining what items you would need to reorder. But again, you can select by any piece of information that's important to you and load the information into the bottom grid. Important in the sense that you can now review those items that the system has determined based on your min-max levels, what needs to be reordered. So you have the ability to review it and again choose whether to include or not include any of those items within your ordering process. But you can also export it, save the list into an Excel spreadsheet that can then be forwarded around your organization for people to review and maybe make changes to. And then by using the open feature, you can bring the results back into this entry grid. So you have a lot more control around the items that you're going to order. The other feature that we've added is the ability for you to not just generate a purchase order, but you can also generate a requisition. With the standard Sage 300 tool, you can only generate a purchase order and you don't get an option to review the things that the system has determined that you need to based on your min-max levels. So that's for the items whose quantity is below the minimum that you've set within inventory control. You can also choose all items that match criteria, and that would be the additional criteria that you set here. So a lot more flexibility and a lot more control around those things that you're going to reorder to maintain your inventory levels. In a number of the toolkits, we have a mail merge tool. It gives you the ability to utilize Microsoft Word's mail merge tool with information that you have from Sage 300. So you have it here in inventory control. You also have it in accounts receivable, accounts payable, and payroll. So you can utilize that information and generate a mail merge from there. You can fix item valuation errors. So you can call up anywhere that there's a difference with your item valuation, and you can choose to automatically fix it. So here, just by clicking the check button, it's going to check all of my items and let me know if there's any errors, and it doesn't look like I have any in here. The errors would pop up. It will generate a log and to show you everything that it checked. And I'm not seeing any errors in my data, but it would definitely point out if there were any errors and you can choose to fix those errors just by clicking the Fix button. And the last tool here in inventory control is a delete items tool. So this tool will give you the ability to delete those items that you're no longer using. However, it will run a data integrity check, and it will let you know only those items that are safe for you to delete. So in other words, they're not in active use within Sage 300. So that is the extended inventory control tools. Moving on to the order entry module. With order entry, I think this is the most feature-rich of the productivity tools. Extended order entry in particular. This is the one tool that we actually will replace the standard Sage 300 screen. Because we've added so many features to it, it became necessary to actually replace the screen. All of the other tools, you can still use your standard Sage 300 screens and then use the tool when you need to. This extended order entry screen is extremely feature-rich. So you have the Google search capability around the order number as well as the customer number. The first thing to highlight here would be the ability for you to order from history. So when I click on the order from history and I load the information into the screen, I'm now seeing all of the previous orders that have been done for this customer. As you click on the order, you'll see the item detail popping up below. You can easily choose to include or not include specific items on each order. So I could say, on this order, I just want to add these 2 items. And when I click the order button and say, yes, I want to add it to my new order, and I close this, you'll see that those items have now been added to this new order. So you can very easily pick and choose different items from different orders to add on to a new order. So that's the order from history. I'm just going to insert here, and let's add a kit to this order. So let's just choose this office furniture kit. And we'll add in a quantity here. And as soon as I've added in a quantity, the components button lights up. So for any of you that are using kits or bombs for that matter, you may develop a kit and perhaps 5 out of the 6 items are the same every time, but then there's one item that could be different each time. You can generate the kit for those 4 items that are always the same. And then on this order entry screen, when you click the components button, it'll actually bring up what the items are within that kit or bomb. And you can make changes to it. So you can change the quantities. You can add another item to it. You could zero out a quantity and say on this particular order, that one item is not necessary. So it gives you some flexibility when you're using kits and bombs to be able to make alterations to the contents of that kit or bomb. So you don't have to have so many variables within your Sage 300 system. We also have an item finder. If you're familiar with entering orders, typically you have to choose an item for the location that you're working in, and it's going to bring up only the quantities that are available in that location. So let's just choose, I think if I just choose an item here and click on it. You can choose to search by item number, by description, by item code. And then you can say the item number starts with or contains. I'll just say A1 and find. And it's going to bring up all of the items that fall within the criteria that you've set. You can see what the pricing is here before you choose it on the order. You can see the quantity that's available in the location you've chosen on the order. So in my case, location 1. But you can also see all of the quantity that's available in all of your locations. And you can drill down into that and actually see by location the quantities that you have. So much easier than choosing an item, bringing it onto an order, and then finding out you don't have any quantities available. So much easier way to find the items for the order. There is also an order margin capability. So by clicking on this button, I can see the overall margin on this order, the margin percent, the markup, and what the overall margin amount is on this order. But you also get that information at the detail line level. So we've added some columns at the end, so you can see the percent, the markup, and what the margin amount is by item for that particular order. So you also can ship from this screen. With this ship button, somebody that's sitting entering an order, they're entering the order as it's coming into them from the customer, and it may or may not be good for the people that actually have to pick the order, because it may not be in the picking sequence. So we're giving you the ability to actually resort the order. You can resort it by picking sequence, you can resort it by item, or resort it by location. So that's the first thing, and then they could print it and easily go and pick it. The other thing is when they're entering the quantity shipped on the standard Sage screen, it becomes difficult to enter in the quantity shipped. So we're giving them the ability to enter that here just with entering a quantity and tabbing down to the next line of detail. So, you know, on an order that's 50 lines, it can save a considerable amount of time for them to be able to just enter the quantity and tab down to the next field and enter in the next quantity. The last thing, so if I go ahead and post this order, another feature is going to open up here for us, and that's the OE forms. We're giving you the ability to print multiple forms all from this screen, so you don't have to go into multiple screens to print the order confirmation, the quote, the picking slip, or the invoice. You can print all of those from here. And then we also have the create purchase order. I'm sure anyone that's familiar with order entry would know there's a create PO button on the standard order entry screen. But again, we've added more features to give you more flexibility as to how you're creating the purchase order and what information you're passing over to the purchase order. So you can create the purchase orders using the item vendor information, using a specific vendor, or using an existing purchase order. You can specify what information you want to go over to the purchase order in the description or reference field. And then you can choose what information you want to transfer to the purchase order. So whether that's the order header comments, the line instructions, optional fields. So you can choose what you're going to pass, and then you can go ahead and create the purchase order from there. So again, more flexibility in terms of what information you're passing. So as you can see, it's quite feature rich in terms of all of the added features that we've added to the extended order entry screen. The extended shipment entry screen, we're taking some of those features from the extended order entry and I'm giving you those features within the shipment entry. Things like the item finder, when you're looking for the items that you want to ship, that ship capability, and we're giving you the shipment margins here as well. So all very similar to what I just showed you on the order entry screen. And you can also print the OE forms from here as well. So that's the extended shipment entry. The ship orders, this will give you the ability to generate multiple shipments in one go. So you can load up all the open orders and you can just say yes or no to multiple and hit the process button and it'll generate all of those shipments for you. Likewise, you could generate the invoice from here as well. So you could do both of those steps in one just by hitting the process button. If you're doing it separately, if you're shipping and invoicing separately, then you have that feature here on the invoice. Again, you can call up multiple shipments and you can just say yes or no and select the process button to generate those invoices. And you can choose to create separate invoices for each shipment. create one invoice for each of the customers, like all of the shipments onto one invoice for that customer. So you have some flexibility there as well. You can update orders. So perhaps there's an item on a bunch of orders that you're never going to get. You can update kit numbers or BOMs or expected ship dates or item prices. You can substitute an item, so you're never getting that item in. You'd like to call up all the orders that have that item because you want to substitute it with a different item. Or you want to put orders on hold or take them off hold, or maybe you just want to update addresses. So again, the same concept that you load everything into the bottom grid and you can choose to include or not include. You have a lot of different parameters that you can select by. The same goes for the update shipments. You can update item prices or update a shipment date. So you're waiting for an item to come in and you know it's now going to be delayed by 2 weeks. You can call up all orders that have that item and you can update the shipment date for that item. For a specific item, by the way, a list of items or all items. We have a couple of tools here that give you the ability to delete records. So delete orders, which I always think is a bit dangerous, but you can delete old quotes. You can set orders to complete. So I probably would lean closer to that. If you have orders out there that you know are never going to be fulfilled, if you just set them to complete, then it should clean things up for you. We have the extended in terms of your ship via codes, and then there is a sales history inquiry tool that gives you the ability to call up by an item number by a specific customer, and you can load that and you can see the year, the period, the quantity on hand, the quantity on sales order, those order numbers that relate to that customer and what they bought. So a lot of information on the sales history inquiry. So those are your order entry tools. Under purchase orders, we have the extended purchase order screen that has some of the features that I just highlighted on the order entry screen. So if we just call up a purchase order here, we have that purchase from history capability. So again, you can go into that screen and you can review previous purchase orders for this vendor and pick and choose items that would fall onto the new purchase order. You have an item finder capability here as well. And then you have your extended PO receipt entry. So this is extending your receipt entry capabilities. So if we just call up a receipt here as an example, you can review the history here as well, and you can choose to generate an invoice from here. The extended PO invoice entry, again, would give you the ability to generate multiple invoices at the same time. You have the stock reorder tool within the purchase order toolkit. You can update purchase orders. You can update the expected arrival date or a vendor cost on multiple purchase orders at the same time. And then you can delete old purchase orders or set them to complete or complete 0 receipts. So that's the highlights of the inventory control, order entry, and purchase order, and then kind of a higher overview around the accounts payable, accounts receivable, and general ledger tools. We do thank you for taking the time to spend with us today. So Melanie, I'll leave it up to you to let me know if there's any questions.
I had a question about kits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you had that kit set up and you were on the order and you went and added a new item to the kit, does that save that new item into that kit so the next time you use it, it'll be there, or is it just saving it onto that new order that you created?
It's just for that one order. It does not update the main kit.
Perfect. So if you have a kit with 4 items, you pull the kit in, you add 1 item to it. The next time you use that kit, it's just the original 4?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. And I believe it was designed for a scenario where, you know, there's 4 items that are static within that kit, and then there's a few other components that need to be added, but depending on the circumstances, it could be different components.